Welcome to All Things Newark. I'm Karen Dinkins, your host. And when you think about Newark, New Jersey, you might think of many things, but vertical farming and salad greens is probably not one of them. Well, Aerofarms is here to let us know that they are putting Newark, New Jersey on the map by being the leader in vertical farms right here in Newark, New Jersey.
Yes.
Aerofarms is a world leader.
Yes.
That is what all of my research is telling me. Ingrid, my guest here, is going to talk about vertical farming. Ingrid, what is vertical farming?
Thank you for having me, Karen. I am Ingrid Williams. I head human resources for Aerofarms. And vertical farming is basically being able to grow leafy greens in a space that is inside, so we're protected from the elements like rain, sleet, snow. So we can turn over about 22 crops a year, which is more than a traditional farmer,
Right.
and we're able to control the environment, the humidity, and just nutrient mixes and things of that nature, and create the optimum growing space. We choose to grow leafy greens, and it's just been really exciting. And we grow up, so we take up a little bit less space and we're not contaminating soil with pesticides or anything of that, and or contaminating water with the runoff. And we are doing so pesticide free, and no herbicides, no fungicides, and no GMOs. So.
And that sounds great. I'm glad that it's happening here in Newark, New Jersey. I think that's a wonderful thing that Newark is the leader in technology.
Yes.
And that you chose to be here.
Yes.
Have your HQ here. That's great.
Yeah.
But Ingrid, I have got to say it. There are people that's going to say, I don't want to eat salad that's grown in a controlled environment. That's not normal. I want to have my salad come out of the ground, nourished by the sun. So what would you say to someone that would say that?
It's totally understandable. I get it. It's new, and there's so many things to say. So, ground soil growing has its benefits, but it also has some things that are not so great, especially just the runoff contaminates, a large portion of the water. The soil also sometimes you have to watch to see if there's any contaminants in it. And growing indoors allows us to be able to just control that narrative just a little bit. A lot of it. And our food is so fresh. You don't have to worry about maybe ingesting or consuming something that may be contaminated from just the environment around you from the outside. We like to think it's dirt and things of that nature, but there's other things that are happening, and other ecosystems that are happening within the dirt as well. So
maybe this is the wave of the future.
And it very much is. There's only so much land, right? And there's only so much that we can use for farming. And if we're contaminating some of it to the point where it can't grow, we can't grow food there, where else do you grow it? And Aerofarms is creating the solution to that question, especially as populations grow, especially for areas where traditional farming is something that you can't do. We have desert spaces even here in the United States, so it's good to have an alternative to what that looks like, and maybe lessen some pesticides, because if you're setting up farms that are local in an indoor space, it's less travel time on a truck.
I understand.
So we're solving all of those issues.
Now, when I was little, my mother would use tactics to try to make me eat the food. Karen, people are starving in Africa. You need to eat your food.
Right.
So maybe this technology could be in arid lands where it's grown indoors in a controlled environment.
Yes.
I could see where that could possibly be an option. Is Aerofarms thinking globally in that respect, or what's the next steps for them?
We are thinking both on a national and global level. Some things I just can't share here in this space, but one of the next things that we have coming down the pike is a Camden farm. Hopefully, will be in 2019. gearing up for like the construction and building of a farm in Camden. We're also expanding or doing the second phase of growth for our current farm here in Newark on Rome Street. And so that'll be a whole construction cycle. But yes, we do look at just globally. I don't think that you can be the world leader in something and not encompass, you know, how our technology and our way of growing will leave an impact on the world and being able to produce nutritious food, and for everyone, even the starving kid in Africa, to have something to eat, something nutritious to eat at that. So, yeah.
Now, what is the difference between hydroponic and then aeroponic?
So aeroponic growing is you kind of you miss the roots in growing. So the way our machinery works or technology works is that it's exposed root. So we have a growing medium, which is like a cloth, and we seed, and then the roots grow down. And since there's no dirt, they're not covered. And then you kind of aeroponics like miss the root. Hydroponics is a little bit more root submission, like into the water. So that's.
So you use aero.
We use aero. So the aero in Aerofarms is for the aeroponic way in which we grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in my research, there's other people that's doing the same technology, but not at the, I guess, breadth that you are doing it.
Yeah.
What certain patents or what does Aerofarms have that maybe another person or another entity doesn't have?
Well, being the HR manager, I always start with the people. We have some really great people on our team. We have some really great innovators on the team, and we have some really great forward thinkers on our team. And we have people that are committed to just what we're trying to do and changing how the world eats. And I think that is one of the biggest benefits, and one of the things that will sustain us to be a world leader is to have a team that's willing to take on these new challenges and kind of figure out what needs to happen in order to keep us as innovator. Like everybody wants to talk about innovation, which is great, but it's actually people that come up with the ideas and people that execute the plans. So if we don't have great teams in place, I don't see where we could continue and to maintain our status as world leaders. So I think the first thing is just people, and I think the second thing is that we have leadership that allows us to kind of have these ideas and kind of run with them, and they encourage us and they push us to just always obtain the goal and then kind of like stretch us to do some of the things that we think that we can't do. Sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? Like, how are we going to top this last thing? And they stretch us in order to make sure. And the next thing you know, like you're doing it. So I think that combination of things allows it to be possible for us to think of, what the next generation of growing structure might be, or what automation we might need to bring in, or R&D might come up with, a new strategy or new way for us to grow a specific variety. But it all starts with the people.
With the people.
Yeah.
And you have a patent technology that's out right now. Would you explain that a little bit?
Sure, for what I can. So it's stacked. There's trays, and then we have a cloth in which we grow, and then we have just a system that funnels the nutrition to the roots, and it's easier to explain. We have like a photo on it on the website, but just verbally talking about it, that's kind of where I can take you without overstepping some bounds. But it's really interesting, and for someone who I don't have like a science background, and there's a place for me, but so I'm learning as I'm working as well, and it's exciting to see and learn and explore the technology, through my daily work, and my support of the team and staffing. I've learned so much just trying to staff the jobs. I've learned so much about the technology and what it does and what it can do, and dispelling some of those myths of where people might think that the food is not as healthy. I like to tell people if I would feed it to to my child.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, and I think that is what we put at the forefront of our mind as a team. You know, like your customer is, you know, my daughter. Your customer is, you know, the children at Phillips. Your customer is, you know, the children of Newark, or the children of whatever city that we're growing. And for that, we have to do everything with the utmost care, follow the utmost guidelines of food safety.
Because that speaks
people's
volumes,
safety.
feeding it to your child.
Yeah.
Now, how did you become involved with Aerofarms? You have an interesting story there.
I do. There's always a backstory, right? So I was introduced to Aerofarms like indirectly. So my daughter attended Phillips Academy Charter School, and they had a partnership with Aerofarms, who kind of came into the city, and they put up growing like one level in the cafeteria of the school. Maybe when my daughter was, I think it was first grade or kindergarten. And all of a sudden this machine, you know, came to the school, and the kids were so excited about it. And there's lettuce growing, you know, in the back corner of the cafeteria. And fast forward, you know, a couple years, I am at a Newark TEDx event, going to support a friend who's popular in the financial industry. And there's our CEO, David Rosenberg, and he's giving a presentation on the same panel. And when he got to the slide of Phillips as one of the partnerships, I was like, yes, this is why this sounds so familiar.
I know about
yeah,
that
because
lettuce.
like I eat it out the salad bar at the school, and the machine is growing. So I just started off by just thanking him for introducing this technology to the school. I still think for a long time the kids think that like lettuce just grows in everyone's cafeteria, which it doesn't. But it just turned into a conversation of, he had, during his presentation, mentioned that there was hiring opportunities that they had. And me having an HR background just kind of went into that. And 9 days after that, I was heading up their human resources
9 days after.
We grow fast. We turn crops fast.
And we grow jobs fast.
Exactly.
Just think if you had never gone to that TED Talk,
exactly,
how different your life would be.
Right. It's totally different. And that was 2015, so about 3 years ago. And I watched Aerofarms grow from about 25 to 30 employees to now over 100. So and it's been exciting to see in that short amount of time just how quickly we grow even without soil.
Okay. So give us an idea of how many crops you produce a year.
We can grow in about, on average, like 15 days. So we can turn over about 25 crop cycles, or 22 crop cycles, like in a year, between 22 and 25 crop cycles.
What would that
in a
be
year.
for soil? Do you know?
It's a little bit longer. I think the traditional soil farmer can turn over maybe 4 to 5 like crop cycles in a year. So don't quote me on it, but I think it's something like close to that. But yeah, it's definitely a lot less. So we're able to produce a lot more than a traditional farmer. We usually produce about 2 million pounds a year.
2 million pounds.
Yeah. So it's exciting.
That's a lot of salad.
That is.
Now, if somebody wants to buy Aerofarms product, where could they go?
So right here in the city, they can purchase from the ShopRite of Newark and also the Whole Foods of Newark. We do sell the product under Dream Greens as our retail label. And we also have some restaurant accounts here in the city as well. And we do also sell in some other ShopRites that are outside of the city. So Livingston, and we also have some other Whole Foods that are, if you're just out and about. Morristown, I think, that has our product. So yeah, but locally here for our Newark residents, the ShopRite of Newark was our first customer. So we start off all things here in the city of Newark, even if we expand beyond that, but we always keep it true to making sure that Newark gets our first and our best. So we're excited.
Okay. Now, does any of the proceeds from the sale of the salad go to Newark? Is it goes back to the organization, or how does that work?
Well, right now, it goes back to just innovation and kind of like what we're doing. We don't currently have a system where we have a donation back, but we do strategically partner with different agencies in the city to be able to, provide in certain types of services or products if needed. And one of our best partners is the school, and just being able to help them sustain their unit there, and hopefully that opens up to something that we can possibly in the future like expand out. So. We're excited for that.
Okay. Is this, do you think this is a fad or something that's trendy, or is this going to stay around for a while? Because I'm trying to think, like, you have such a big operation. How do you make money? Because your energy costs have got to be through the roof, because your growing cycle, you probably have lights on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I just imagine like all of these stacks of salad. It's all.
Well, I think the good thing about us and some of the things that make it make us different is that we do try to figure out and design the technology in a way that's the most energy efficient. Obviously, like in business planning, you try to figure out where you can, pull the least amount of energy, or where the cost will not be astronomical. So we have done things in our patent technology that allow us to that allow us, like from the lights to the light bulbs to just different mechanisms inside of it that allow us to not pull too much and not like drain too much energy on a higher end of the spectrum. Yes, it's inside, so it is electric, but we are very conscious of that, and we have put measures in place to be able to not absorb too much to the point where it becomes a strain on the community around us.
Now, I wish we had some visuals because it just looks like these large vertical pallets that go to infinity. I mean, it just looks massive.
Yeah.
Can you kind of describe for our audience what it's like walking into, I guess, the growing room and seeing this firsthand?
Well, first let me say, if anybody wants to take a virtual tour, they can go on our website, aerofarms.com, and there's a link to like our virtual tour so they can see it for themselves. So we do try to you bring the experience alive as much as possible in the best way that we can. But I want to say, like, the first time I walked into the grill room, it's almost like breathtaking, because you're just kind of like, whoa, and when I started, we had just our pilot plant that was on Ferry Street. So there's only like 3 machines there, and it looked kind of like, it looked big, and it wasn't as high as it is now, but they weren't stacked as high as they are now. And it wasn't as overwhelming, but once we finished our construction at 212 Rome Street and kind of got those like 12 structures up, and now they're like 32 to 34 feet like in the air. You're just kind of like, whoa. Yes, it's really it really makes your day-to-day work very gratifying and satisfying to know that like this is possible. And trendy, I guess, would be, it's a necessary trend is what I'll say. Like it probably is like really trendy and sounds like really fad like, but it is necessary to, and so I don't see it going anywhere, because it is going to it is just another way to be able to feed the population as time goes on, and as contaminants start, and as things start just from evolution and pollution and all those other things, we have less and less space. So it does sound trendy, but it's a necessary trend, and it's one that I think will be around for a long time.
It is innovative in a way, because so many times you hear about food contamination with pesticides, food not being safe, with GMOs. People are afraid of that, and there's so much going on with our food these days. It just makes it very skeptical about certain things that are not traditional. But it seems like, as a form of necessity and the evolution of our food, that this is a good way for us to go, a good food alternative.
Right. No, I totally agree. I mean, in one breath, it's like people are skeptical of the traditional way of doing it, and then the next breath, we do have to have that serious conversation of some of the contaminants and the pesticides, you know, that we're introducing as well. So it's kind of like if we hold on to some of those more traditional things, we may find ourselves in a more critical spot than if you just kind of open up your mind a little bit to be able to embrace some of this new technology that is happening that allows you to have like clean, pesticide-free, herbicide-free, you know, food that is kind of, you just have to expand your mind a little bit because it's happening. Like if we can talk about like just the pesticides, and now people are labeling like no GMOs, no pesticides. So people are really concerned about those things. So concerned that retailers are now like showcasing that this specific product doesn't have it. And if you know, take away the fact that we don't have any soil and
any sun.
And that our lights are better than the sun, you will find that
you can top the sun now.
You will find that this is, you know, this is a nice, safe, nutritious way to feed your family. And I'm feeding mine from it, and it also tastes really good. You know,
Does it really?
It tastes very good. So.
I was so surprised because I was in Whole Foods downtown, and I'm, you know, trying to find out which salad do I want, and then I pick Newark. What?
Yeah.
Let me read that. Grown in Newark?
Yes.
Oh my gosh! So of course I had to buy it.
Yeah.
You know, just to support. But what other type of, I guess, leafy greens do you have?
So we have arugula, watercress. We do grow red romaine that we put in our mixes. We have ruby streaks, which is like a mustard green. And we just ventured into or launched like microgreens. So we have a variety of different. Arugula is really great. It's like a nice spice, and it's really peppery. My favorite is our kale. And I just kind of like to put in shakes and then put in my omelets or saute it up sometimes. So we have a variety of different of varieties, but we have like 6 SKUs that we usually have standalone. So watercress, ruby streaks, kale, and then we have some blends.
So I have to check out ruby streaks. I've never heard of that before.
Ruby streaks are my second favorite.
Okay.
It's a more of a mustard green, but it's really good. So and we just we are selling it as a standalone. It used to be in our mixes, and now we're selling it as a standalone. So yeah.
Now, because you are HR, if someone was interested in a job or they wanted to be a part of what's happening at Aerofarms, what would they do?
I invite everybody to come grow with us. That's our tagline. We have all our open positions listed on our website, which is aerofarms.com. You can click on the careers link, and we have a plethora of different positions that are open there. We also have some key ones. If you don't see where you don't see something open, you can apply to a don't see what you're looking for here. Like, just submit your resume, and we'll go through and see if there's a fit or a future fit. And we also offer internships, and that people can apply to. We usually staff up for internships for summer. Certain departments have them all year round, but even our local college students that are taking up some of the biological sciences can apply online.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, Ingrid, thank you so much.
Thank you
for telling us more about Aerofarms. And the HQ is right here in Newark, New Jersey, and Aerofarms is a world leader in vertical farming. And thank you very much, Newark, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on All Things Newark.